I think you should finally start YouTube. I've been seeing a lot of videos lately telling people to start creating content, and honestly, I think they're right. So I wanted to share what I needed to hear all these years of being too anxious to start, to finally overcome this and just start doing YouTube. Because I think a lot of these videos miss something, because usually the advice is just start, just upload, stop overthinking. And yeah, technically that is true, but if it was that easy, you probably would have started already. So I wanted to make my own version of this video, not as some YouTube guru, not by a long shot, not as someone who has everything figured out, which I clearly have not, just as somebody who understands what it feels like to sit there for months or maybe years thinking, man, I really wish I could do this. Because I think you can, and not even for the money or for the fame, like I really don't care about either of those, just because something about creating things feels important to you, and it really does for me. And maybe you're like me a couple of months ago, just watching creators and think, I wish I could make people feel like that, or I wish I had something that was mine. I wish I could do that. And I think the weirdest part is you probably already know what you would make, like genuinely. If I ask you right now, yeah, be honest, what video would you make if nobody could judge you? You probably would have an answer immediately. And I know I would want to see your first video. Like I'm genuinely curious. So let's make a deal here. If you watched until here and you just started creating content or you watched the whole thing and it helped you to start, write a comment here and tell me about it. And I promise I will go and watch your video. I will try my very best. Just tell me in the comments and I will take a look because I love finding new creators that are genuinely passionate about creating stuff. So yeah, put it in the comments and I will take a look. But back to ideas, because I'm thinking that's the crazy part. The problem usually isn't ideas. It's the feeling that your version won't be good enough, that somebody already does it better, that your voice sounds weird, that your editing sucks, that your setup sucks, that nobody will care. And honestly, your first videos will probably suck a little, like mine did too, everybody's do. And I genuinely wish more people understood that the creators they look up to right now were once sitting in the exact same spot, like talking too quietly into a bad microphone or overthinking every second, re-recording the same intro like 14 times and uploading something and then immediately wanting to delete it. Like, trust me, I've been there and sometimes still am there. And it definitely takes time to get over it. But nobody skips that phase. You have to remember that. You just don't see it anymore because most creators either delete those videos or they buried them under years of experience. Like, have you ever seen the Hermitcraft members talk about the first videos and make fun of how they sounded back then? They hate those videos, but those awkward beginnings are still part of the process. And I think people massively underestimate how fast humans can improve once they stop consuming and start doing. Because right now, maybe you spend years watching YouTube, you studied it without realizing it. You learned pacing, you learned humor, you learned storytelling and the vibes, and learning what feels authentic and what feels forced. And you probably already have better instincts than you think. And then you finally make the first video and expect yourself to immediately perform like someone who's uploaded for 8 years. And that makes no sense. Nobody starts good at this. And weirdly, that's kind of the exciting part, I think, because when you upload your first few videos, you're not really building an audience yet. You're building a creator, you're building yourself, you build your taste, your confidence, your style, your voice. You're figuring out what kind of videos actually feel natural to make for you. And I think that is the part that gets overlooked a lot because people always focus on how do I grow, how do I get the views, how do I beat the algorithm. But early on, I honestly think a way more important question is what kind of creator do I even want to become? Do you want to make super polished cinematic stuff, chaotic funny videos, long rambly commentary, comfort content streams, videos that feel like hanging out with a friend? You don't even fully know yet, and that's okay because I don't fully either. Because you discover that by making things, not by endlessly planning to make things. And I think a lot of people quit before they ever meet the version of themselves that would have become good at this. There are people, so many people actually, out there who could have made something incredible, but they never uploaded like the fourth video or the 10th one or the one where things finally start clicking. And usually when people imagine being a creator, they only picture the end result, like the subscribers and the comments, the community, the cool opportunities, maybe even making money from it. But they don't picture the middle part, the quiet part, the important part, the extremely difficult part, the part where nobody cares yet, where you upload a video and it gets like 23 views in 2 days, where you check analytics every 40 minutes, where one nice comment genuinely carries your mood for an entire week. And that part is real too. I'm kind of in there right now. And yes, it sucks sometimes. And yes, it's frustrating. But honestly, that part is where most creators are made. Because if you can learn to enjoy creating before external validation shows up, you're in such a powerful position, because then your motivation isn't entirely controlled by numbers. And I honestly think that's one of the biggest traps people fall into. They start creating because they love the idea of it, but slowly they stop thinking about making videos and start only thinking about performance, views, CTR, watch time, subscribers, yada yada yada. And look, analytics matter, improving matters, learning matters. But if every upload starts feeling like a test you can fail, you're going to drain all the joy out of creating things. And I think some of the best creators are people who still genuinely seem excited to make stuff, even after years. You can feel it immediately. And I think audience can feel the opposite too. They can tell when somebody is forcing themselves into trends they don't even enjoy anymore. I did a video on that as well, by the way, where I talk about how you should stop creating for the algorithm. Give that a watch as well if you like this video so far. And this is why I honestly think it's important to create stuff you could realistically imagine yourself making for a long time, not just stuff that gets clicks once, because there's a massive difference between this video performed well and I actually like making this. You need both eventually. And I also think people underestimate how much viewers connect to sincerity. Like, people talk all the time about needing better editing or better thumbnails or better equipment. And sure, those things surely help. But some of my favorite creators are literally just people sitting down and talking about something they care about. No insane production, no constant simulation, just honesty and passion. And maybe that sounds a little cheesy, but I genuinely think people are starving for that online right now. Like, I feel like everything feels so optimized, everything feels so engineered. Every title is trying to squeeze the last bit of attention out of you. So when somebody shows up, it just feels like an actual human being. It stands out immediately. And I know there are people watching this right now who think, yeah, but I'm awkward or I'm not entertaining enough. Like, some of the most comforting streamers ever are literally just people talking. It doesn't matter. No screaming, no fake energy, just somebody who clearly cares. That's enough, way more often than you think. And honestly, I think people can feel when somebody actually wants to create, not because they want to be famous or they want to escape a job, but because they genuinely have this little itch in their brain that keeps saying, please just make something. And I think viewers feel that immediately. And I also think that's why some channels grow slowly but build insanely loyal communities. Because people mostly aren't subscribing to the content, they're subscribing to a person. And yeah, they're going to be awkward uploads. They're going to be videos that get like 17 likes. And there are going to be moments where you look at your own content and feel physically recoil. And that is part of the deal. Trust me, you just have to get through it. There's also going to be moments where you compare yourself to people who are years ahead of you and suddenly feel like you're moving way too slowly. And that's part of it too. But honestly, comparing your beginning to somebody else's middle is one of the fastest way to kill your motivation, because you don't see the years they spent uploading to nobody, the failed videos, the identity crisis they had, the months when nothing worked, and you're only seeing the polished version that survived. You know, every creator you love has experienced the exact same thing. Every single one. I promise you that. The difference is just that they uploaded anyway. And honestly, I think that's the real barrier. Not talent, not gear, not algorithms. Just the willingness to be seen before you feel ready. That's the whole game. You just have to put in the work. And I really don't think you need to wait anymore. Not for better equipment, not for confidence, not for the perfect idea. Because the truth is, the people who eventually become good at YouTube are usually just the people who kept showing up long enough to become good at YouTube. That is it. And honestly, I think there's something really beautiful about that. The internet can feel very numbers driven and competitive sometimes, but at its core, creating online is still just people trying to connect with other people. That's all it really is. One person making something and another person somewhere in the world going, wait, I relate to this. And that's kind of insane when you think about it, really. And maybe this sounds cheesy as well, but I generally think the internet always has room for one more person who's being honest. One more perspective, one more voice, one more weird little channel somebody discovers at 2 a.m. and suddenly loves. And why couldn't that be you? Like, seriously, why not? So, if you've been thinking about starting a channel or streaming or posting literally anything, this is me telling you that you probably should. Not because it's guaranteed to work, but because I think constantly wondering, what if I actually tried, is way worse. We don't want those regrets here. Honestly, even if it never becomes your job, even if you never get huge, even if only a small group of people ever watch, you still made something. You still expressed yourself. You still created instead of only consuming, and you probably learned something about yourself. You still gave your ideas a real chance to exist. And that, I think, matters more than people think. So make the account, name the channel, press record, upload the thing. It's that easy. 4 steps, 4 simple steps. And it's important that you just let yourself be bad at it for a while. That's how everyone starts, including the ones that inspired you to begin in the first place. So I'm excited to see what you're doing. Just start creating, and people will come. I promise you that.